All right, so today is Super Bowl Sunday, February 8th, Kendrick Day. There's like a forever struggle in these videos because I want to make them better, right? And I want to learn, I want to add this to my repertoire of skills, right? I want to be able to be good at making videos because if I come into this with the idea of possibly making it public, right? Which is an idea that I obviously there are already some that are public. So like from that to what I'm trying to make now and be more cohesive, it takes me wanting to change my approach to this, even to my thinking, because I don't have the answers to all of the questions that I'm asking, but it's that I have these questions and they're not my own sometimes. Sometimes it's found on different parts of the internet. And so that's why my thoughts and my points are all so scatterbrained because they're all linked together, but it's this thing that took me forever to even begin to question about. And so for me to find those answers, it's going to be a lifetime, right? Because I've spent a lifetime being in my ways because it has to do with immigration, but it has to do with what you what life you made out of it, right? And what that life represents to you and what happiness and what goals are and what the American dream is and what is thriving and what is perspective and what are all these things can you take, and can you really take a look and take account of your life and be like, yes, I hit all the milestones, I hit all the goals, and I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, and I feel fulfilled, and I feel happy, and I feel like my contribution to life was worth it. These are the type of things that I'm going through because does something to you when your entire life, and these are the points that I could never get to because they're so complicated, but if your entire life and your life as in your life in America as someone who is here undocumented with DACA, as long as you're not a full citizen, right? As long as you've struggled through the process of being through the immigration process and all these things, your perspective about all these things are completely different, right? And so it's just such a complicated set of things to go through that it's all of this on top of what you think about all the time and what you're able to think about, what you're able, depending on your situation. It's like you long for stability, right? But DACA feels like stability in a weird way. So it's like that's where you get that. And I don't speak for everyone, but this is just from me looking at these things and looking for these answers or looking to answer the questions that I have. And I see it in these comments where it's people are like, you have to be grateful for what you have, right? But that's not fair. That's not fair because it's like, of course, you're grateful for these things, but it's like, it does something to you. So if you spend a lifetime figuring out a way to shield yourself, to provide shelter for yourself, literally, physically, mentally, like figuratively too, right? It's like that's what job stability is. That's the ability to work. That's why your employment authorization matters so much. That's why there's a timeline that we worry about because it's how we move within our life. That's the timeline of our life. It's like that's how long the hourglass is for us. It's 2 years because every 2 years we plan accordingly. And if it's always, and if I get approved, and if the Supreme Court doesn't, and if Texas doesn't fuck something else up, and if Trump doesn't win, and if it's always and ifs. And so if you go about your life that way, no matter how strong mentally you are, no matter how good you are at being able to separate things with just life and your immigration status, as long as you could be as good as you want at that, right? But it's all wrapped together. It's all part of the same thing. You think about it, whether you like to believe it or not, as long as it's all one thing, because that's why these videos become about one thing, about the Super Bowl, and they turn into immigration because it all has to do with this. And it took me forever to get to this level to be like, yo, this is why you think that way, or even allow myself to question why it is that I'm going through what is it like as you hit these milestones that are set up for you to try, like it's almost like set up for you to fail, right? But you keep hitting them. And the feelings, at least this is true for me, and I don't speak for everyone. This is just because I've never been able to let this out and for anyone to be like, yeah, I get you, yo. And when I did, I finally let one of those out. I got more than 5 people to be like, yeah, this is exactly how I feel too. And so if I set out to help one person, which was me, and I helped or people connected to this, and it was more than I expected, right? 5 times more, then of course there must be something in this. There must be something in the things that I'm talking about, because I don't think that these are my original ideas. It's from my doom scrolling on Reddit. It's from reading all the comments. It's from seeing the bitterness of the DACA recipient subreddit. That that subreddit has become so toxic, yo, because it's like you could see it in real time play out with the politics of the US and how they elevate themselves because they feel so it's working, yo. It's like, how come not us? How come us, the DACA recipients, how come they won't help us and they're helping all the migrants? So it's like, because they're doing it, the propaganda and the Twitter space and the oligarchy and all that stuff is working, yo. It's working to be against each other. So it's like, yo, look at look at those people. Like I say, get rid of all the criminals, right? Like DACA recipients saying it's true. I agree. They should deport all the criminals. Like ignoring the fact that like you're considered a criminal, just like you're considered undocumented, right? Because if you're on DACA, you're still undocumented. You don't have status, and so it's just like for them to think about that and to be and find that okay to be like, yo, yeah, fuck that. Let's get rid of all the one like you're here unlawfully, and then you have an excuse, right? The excuse doesn't matter because that's not how they're looking at it, right? That's not that point. The point is always cruelty. So it's like it's it's all of this, yo. It's all of our inability to think outside of that. That's what it's there for, right? Because it's like if you're gonna tell me, that's what I was making, that your life is just your life and you separate your life, your regular life and your immigration, and it doesn't coincide, or it doesn't cross ever. There's no intersecting patterns. There's no intersecting point of your life where you're undocumented and your other life, right? Like, no, it's the basis. It's the root of everything. It's you're undocumented and then your life is built on top of it. And for a long time, that stupid concept was not what I thought of, right? It's always like this is life and I just happen to be undocumented, but it's not that way. It's you're undocumented and then you build a life on top of that. So the foundation is unstable, yo. And so that's what we're dealing with, but it's so hard for us to just sit there and think about these things because we're thinking about Kendrick Lamar and how Drake was never a real rapper, right? And we're thinking of all, and you have opinions about all these things, and it's like, oh, well, you're just against Drake because he's an immigrant. Yes, but we're not talking about immigration here. We're talking about the roots of hip hop, but we're talking about immigration, but I'm talking about all of it because I'm talking about the foundation of being an American as it pertains to me is always that I'm undocumented first, and then I'm an American, or first I'm undocumented, then I'm an immigrant, then I live in America. And when I leave America, I will be an undocumented in my past life immigrant first that happens to have some way of sounding American, but is never American. It's so complicated that if you don't sit there and you analyze all these things, that it's what we don't let out. It's what I go into these videos not knowing what the fuck I'm gonna talk about, and this is what always comes out. And it's not rehearsed, and it's not, I worked on those metaphors before. It's just what I see as I'm looking at this and I'm sitting there and I think about shoes and I think about things that in anyone else's life would be just about what the thing is. A watch is just a watch. A shoe is just a shoe. A football game is just a football game. But when you sit there and you analyze what all of these things represent to you, because you're always forever, and this is true for me, trying to figure out your place in the puzzle. You're trying to be part of the big picture. And you not being able to find your place is what makes you feel what you feel. So you go through your life making your own puzzle, trying to look at your own picture, and your picture always looks very similar. It's very similar, but there's always that one piece that is missing that doesn't ever let you complete your fucking puzzle. That's what it feels like. And maybe you can relate. And maybe I'm just full of shit, but it's complicated. I hope this video finds you well. Keep your chin up.